baby, what we gon' do? Yo. Tell me, girl, what you wanna do? Yo. Cause I ain't waiting on you. I ain't waiting on you. Cause I ain't really got no time. I ain't really got no time to waste on you. To waste on you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Life Show. I'm your host, Rasheed McDonald, and this is part 2 of the Mets overview for 2025. And this episode is going to be about the outfield. And while the 2024 season was full of impact players in the infield, in 2025, it's the outfield that has the biggest impact in it with the addition of Juan Soto. However, let's not forget what impact was felt in the outfield last season. Gone are Harrison Bader and DJ Stewart. Now, Harrison Bader was a big part of the Mets' success in 2024, while DJ Stewart really wasn't. That paved way for the Mets bringing in Jesse Winker. But that's who remains with the club. Remaining with them is Tyrone Taylor, Jesse Winker, and Sterling Marte. In addition, we would like to welcome to the New York Mets Jose Siri, who was traded from the Tampa Bay Rays to the New York Mets. And now let's begin with the man of the hour. We'll start the show with Juan Soto. Now, Juan Soto was acquired via the biggest, largest contract in the history of sports, period. $765 million with escalators that could bring it up to $800 million for the New York Mets and Juan Soto for 15 years. There's an opt-out after year 5, but something would have to go wrong for this to not be a 15-year marriage, right? So Juan Soto and the Mets are going to be together for 15 years. They got their impact player, their player of the future, one of the biggest superstars in the game of baseball. That's Juan Soto, and his impact was greatly felt with the New York Yankees, his club from last season. Now, I've been on record, and I've said that Juan Soto is a big part of why Aaron Judge was able to put up the numbers he put up last season. Because let's be honest, right? And this is even something that former Met, who's no longer with the team anymore, but this is something that, you know, they went on record and said, hey, the Yankees have 2 good players. That's all. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. And Aaron Judge was a big beneficiary of having Juan Soto hit in front of him. Now, a lot of people say it's the other way around. They say Juan Soto had a great season because he had Aaron Judge behind him. I don't really think so, because when you look at the way the season went, who was getting walked in big time games and situations, and who really stepped up when it mattered the most, and that was Juan Soto. Juan Soto stepped up for the Yankees to propel them and put them into the World Series. And he really kept pace with Aaron Judge. And that's very difficult to do when you have someone who is just really good at what he does, right? I like to say that Juan Soto is the best hitter in baseball, period, right? Shohei Ohtani is the best, I don't know if you say athlete, but the best all-around player is Shohei, because he does it from both sides, right? He can pitch and he can hit. So that has to make him the best overall talent in Major League Baseball. But the best player in baseball is Aaron Judge, right? He, you know, for his size to hit and to lead in so many categories in the American League, you know, it's undeniable that Aaron Judge is the best player in Major League Baseball right now. Number 1, bar none, is Aaron Judge. And I know a lot of people who, well, Shohei 50-50 and this and that. Listen, Shohei gets 50-50 because he didn't pitch last year. Let's not forget that. Let's not sit here and put the blinders on and think that Shohei is going to be able to pitch, hit 50-50, and that's not going to happen, right? The focus needs to be split. So he's going to put up good numbers. He's going to put up tremendous numbers because he's going to DH. He's not going to play the field. But Shohei Ohtani doesn't hit 50-50 if he's pitching last year, right? Which evidently cost Francisco Lindor an MVP, but that's not the point. The point is Aaron Judge benefited greatly from having Juan Soto hit in front of him. And now that's gone. That's what the Mets bought into. Someone that can shape shift, that can transform an offense from the word go. I mean, his at bat, his the way he carries himself at the plate, that's infectious. You know, the team really feeds off of Juan Soto when he is performing very, very well. Right? Now, yes, there's been times where Juan Soto hasn't been successful, right? You look at 2023 with the San Diego Padres, you know, they were close to getting into the playoff, but not even. They weren't even close. Like, it was pretty bad for the Padres and Juan Soto in that season. But he still was an all-star. He still put up the numbers that he needed to put up, you know, for himself. You know? So that's the kind of player that the Mets bought in with Juan Soto. And we take a look at his numbers, right? We're talking about 41 home runs, a 2.88 batting average, 109 RBIs, and the numbers that everyone loves, the slugging, 569, OPS, 989. I mean, that is otherworldly. That is top of the top. He finished third in the MVP race in the American League last season. And my money is on him. My bet is on him to be top 3 at least, if not top 2 in the MVP race for the National League this season. He's just that good. He's just that good of a player. And the Mets have a really good team this season. So when you look at Juan Soto, he was up for a Gold Glove last year, but he didn't get it. He's talked about wanting to be better defensively, and that's kind of one of his weaknesses is the glove. But they're going to put him in right field, and they're going to have him out there playing, and you know he's going to do his best. Now, he does have a good arm, and in right field is where you put your best arm, and then when you look around the outfield, now with Jose Siri probably has a better arm than Soto, but you have 2 good arms in the outfield with Brandon Nimmo there in left field. So Juan Soto gives you a lot of things. He brings a lot of things. It's star power. It's a fear of a batter. It's someone that when opposing pitchers come up and they pencil him in the lineup, that's not someone you want to face any day of the week. But they're going to have to, especially when the New York Mets are on that calendar. So I'm excited. I'm thrilled to have Juan Soto a part of the New York Mets, and I know everyone else is thrilled just like I'm thrilled. So I hope you guys are 1,000% prepared and ready for the show that is Juan Soto and his shuffle. We're going to move on to the left field position, and when we talk about left field, we talk about one of the mainstays in that position for the last few years, and he's actually been with the Mets for 9 years, right? His 9th season with the New York Mets, Brandon Nimmo. There is so much to like about Brandon Nimmo, especially when we look at his numbers, which we're about to do in a minute, but Brandon Nimmo is a leader. Brandon Nimmo is a veteran on this team. He's been a part of this team for a very, very long time, drafted in 2016, and you know, I think he got called up in parts of 2018, but 2018, 2017, one of those there. But Brandon Nimmo is household name when it comes to the New York Mets. One of our better players, an on-base machine. But as of late, he's been displaying power. right? I think he's hit 20 home runs the last 2 seasons. And when we take a look closer at his numbers, he had 23 home runs last year, a 224 batting average, which came in the second half, did not really hit very well in the second half. He struggled in the second half. But, 90 RBIs, slugging 399. And we're going to talk about that 399 and his OPS of 727. Now, when we look at the 399 slugging, that only tells me one thing, right? Because he has a 729 OPS, which is great because he's an on-base machine, like we said. But when I look at that slugging, that number, right? And we talk about guys like Alvarez, we talk about guys like Vientos. I need 5 on it. I need a 5 on it. And I need Brandon Nimmo to put 5 on it this year. Because if he gives me 5 on that slugging, guess what? We're talking about over 800 with the OPS. We're talking a couple percentage points higher in the batting average. We're talking maybe 250, right? And with that, we're looking at 25, 30 home runs. We're looking at 90 plus RBIs. Now, remember last episode when I was talking about Jeff McNeil, and there was so much conversation about him switching his batting stances and his bat, switching the bat knobs and what bat he's batting with because he wants to hit for more power. And I think that's a really not a good decision at all. I think he should try to be gap to gap, try to play to his strengths, that Ichiro slap shot power that he has, which is so good from Jeff McNeil. But he wants to go with more power. And the guy that I think should go for more power is Brandon Nimmo. Because when you look at a lot of Brandon Nimmo's at bats last year, especially in the second half, where he did struggle was a lot of, striking out looking. And I feel like a little bit more aggressiveness from Brandon Nimmo. Yes, his on base will probably suffer because of that. So we're not going to see high 350s, maybe 400. We're going to see somewhere in, 315s, 320s like he had last season. Remember, he struggled in the second half. So what I need from Brandon Nimmo is for him to be a little bit more aggressive on the fastballs and just hit with more power. Because when you look at the Mets lineup, where he's going to slot in is going to be right behind or in front of Mark Vientos. And if he's behind Mark Vientos, that's the number 5 spot. And if he's in front of Mark Vientos, that's the number 4 spot, because, we believe it's going to be Lindor, Soto, Alonso, which, the Yankees went to the World Series with Gleyber Torres, Soto, and Judge. Lindor, Soto, and Alonso is 20 times better than that. Just saying. Anyways, so that's what I need to see from Brandon Nimmo. If they're gonna put you in that cleanup spot, they're gonna put you in that 4 hole, then I need you to hit with some more pop, right? I need some more power out of that bat. If not, then slot him into the 5, which is no issue, no problem with Brandon. But that's exactly where I see Brandon Nimmo slotting in, because So let's see. Hopefully, Brandon Nimmo bringing the pop, bringing the bat up. Put 5 on it for me with the slugging. And we're going to see great things from Brandon Nimmo in 2025. Now, he did speak about the plantar fasciitis, which was bothering him during the postseason and some of the second half, I believe. I don't know how long he was dealing with that issue, but he did get surgery. So he said he was feeling like around 91% the last time he talked about it. So, if they're going to take it easy in spring training, I'm guessing. We don't know how much, but Brandon Nimmo hopefully will start the season, playing in the outfield. If not, then he's going to have to DH, and Jesse Winker is going to have to go to the outfield. And we'll talk about Jesse Winker in a moment. But so that to me is what is Brandon Nimmo. That's left field. Now we're going to move over to center field, and we talked about this a little bit in the open. The Mets acquired Jose Siri in a trade with the Tampa Bay Rays. And when they initially made this move, I knew they were going to replace Harrison Bader. Like, Bader wasn't going to come back because, you know, there's no sense in having both of them when you got Tyrone Taylor as well. So when they made the trade for Siri, I understood it, right? You're getting someone who's still young, right? 29 years old. His service time in Major League Baseball is not a lot, right? So when you think about it, we understand. We see what it was. The reason why they traded for Jose Siri, right? You can ignore the 187 batting average because that really has to get better if he's going to play a chunk of the season, right? Because then he'll just be a defensive replacement at that point. But what does stick out to me is the 18 home runs, the 14 stolen bases, which could be higher, but he has to get on base for that, right? The slugging, 366. Again, you got to be better than that. The OPS, 620, got to be better than that. So there's a lot that needs to be improved with Jose Siri, but I think being put in a team that has mentors like Lindor and Juan Soto, I think he's going to have a better mental approach, and he is a wizard defensively in center field, so he is going to make plays that's going to wow people. So when you look at it, it is run prevention with some pop mixed in. So hopefully we're looking at maybe a 20 home run season, a little bit higher on the batting average. You know, give me 240. I'll be happy with that, right? And stolen bases, I need about 30 of them dogs. So let's see what happens. 75 hits, that wasn't good either. So he needs to be better in the getting on base and hits department. So if you're not going to get a hit, at least walk, get on base, man. Create something, because you're going to be in the bottom of that order, and you want some men on base for Lindor and Soto. So that is center field. That, to me, is the projected starting outfield for the New York Mets. You have Brandon Nimmo in left. You have Juan Soto in right. And you have Jose Siri in center field. And to mix in here and there, we're going to see some Tyrone Taylor. We saw him last year. Tyrone Taylor was one of my favorite Mets to see last year when he had his moments. Now, this is a little bit of what I see. I see a lot of, you know, what I can expect, hopefully, to get from Siri as well. But he's good, you know. 7 home runs, yes. Batting average, 248. Not bad. I mean, for what he is, being a fourth outfielder, yeah, 240, right? He had 35 RBIs, 11 stolen bases. He had a 299, he had a 401 slugging, a 701 OPS because he got on base. So he either drew a walk, because he was a really tough at bat for a lot of people. So he either drew a walk or he got on base. So when you see a 701 OPS, that just means he is getting on base. He's just not again, right? 319 at bats. That's, again, sharing the outfield. So you're going to see some more of the same, right? Think about 400 for him, maybe about 400 for Siri at bats or so. They'll split that in between. But yes, 240, 250. Give me a little bit more slug. Maybe throw 430 on there. Give me 10 to 15 home runs. And that'll be successful for me. Now, I'm not projecting here. These are just what I would like to see from him, because I don't do projections here. But this is just, in my mind, based off of what I see and then his career numbers. That's what I would like to see, right? That's what I would like to see. So let's see what happens with that, right? But he went above his career batting average last year with 248, hitting 241. So we'll see what happens with that as far as Tyrone Taylor and how his impact is felt. But we did feel his impact last season, and I think we're going to feel some more of that impact this season with Tyrone Taylor. So from the fourth outfielder, now we're going to go into the bench a little deeper. So for DH this year, no more JD Martinez. We have Jesse Winker and Sterling Marte. They're going to split the time at DH. And you're also going to see some times where Vientos DHs, or maybe, someone else is taking some DH reps here or there, or whatever that may be. But Jesse Winker, fan favorite. I was a fan of Jesse Winker for a long time. Not initially with the waving and all that stuff, but as time went on and as I got to see his game and hear him talk, huge fan of Jesse Winker. Love his personality. I feel like he is great for the clubhouse. He keeps everybody loose, and I feel like when there's an added when you need that added attitude, he is the guy, right? He once tried to take on the whole Anaheim Angels team on his own before. So, listen, Jesse Winker, fan favorite. Love me some Jesse Winker. When we look at his numbers last year, he was good, right? 14 home runs from Jesse Winker. I can expect somewhere around the same, 15 to 20. Let's see. That's what I would hope he lands at. Batting average, 253. Slugging 405, OPS 764. Again, I would like to see that slugging a little bit higher, 430, 450, somewhere around there would be satisfying for me. His career OPS is 804, so if he could do that, his career slugging is 437, his career OPS is 804. If he can produce something similar to that, I take it. That's where I would like it to be. His career batting average is 262. If he can be somewhere around that area, he's at 253 last year. So he's someone who plays to the back of his baseball card, and hopefully, he'll produce in the same way. If not on the field or in the batter's box, definitely in the clubhouse and in the dugout. Jesse Winker is going to make his presence known and felt for the Mets fan base, because we all love him. We love the grills, the cigar, everything. Everything was just majestic when it came to Jesse Winker in that postseason run last year, especially that home run against the Phillies. Oh my God, that was beautiful. So Jesse Winker is going to split that time at DH with Sterling Marte. Sterling Marte is in the final year of his contract with the New York Mets, and there was a lot of speculation of whether he will get traded or not. That's still possibly in the air with him, especially if they think that maybe they'll split some time with Vientos DHing and playing third base from time to time. I think that's something that they probably would like to see, and just would allow them to play some other guys, maybe a Ronnie Mauricio, maybe a Luis Acuna at third base from time to time. Let's see. And they did sign Nick Madrigal, so maybe that's a role that he will occupy for him. But looking at Sterling Marte and his numbers, we're talking about a 269 batting average, 7 home runs last year, but he did have issues with the legs. He did get 16 stolen bases though, but 40 RBIs on slugging 388, OPS 715, and again, those have to be higher, right? Again, when you see somebody have a 380, borderline 400, you got to go to the next step. So we need anywhere between 430 to 450. And his career slugging is 441. So if you can at least match that, that would be perfect. His career OPS is 783. If he brings it up a little bit with the home runs and, gap to gap pop, we're talking about almost an 8 OPS. That's beautiful right there for Sterling Marte, because he'll get a bulk of the at bats, if not Jesse Winker getting a bulk of the at bats. So with them two splitting time, I'm cool with that. I have no issues with Sterling Marte, doing his thing there, for the Mets in the DH position. I'm cool with that because we have Juan Soto, of course, obviously, duh. So let's see what that impact would be like, would feel like. Now there is some honorable mentions to talk about, right? So the lot of questions are gonna come up this season about Drew Gilbert, and if Drew Gilbert is ready, or if he's the outfielder of the future for the New York Mets, or what may have you. So Drew Gilbert, I'm gonna pay attention to. Now he isn't ranked high in the Mets prospect list. That's probably again getting adjusted to AAA, as well as he has an injury history. So if he sorts that out, if he gets that figured out heading into 2025, and then he has a very productive, at least couple of months in AAA, definitely could see him being a part of the ball club in the second half, producing in some capacity in the second half for the New York Mets, and we'll see what that will look like. Because again, we do have Jose Siri and we do have Tyrone Taylor batting, and if they both have terrible seasons, you're gonna see him come up, Drew Gilbert, sooner rather than later. So that's Drew Gilbert. Now, number one overall Mets prospect is Jet Williams, and he's splitting time between the infield and center field. I truly don't see him as a center fielder. I see him someone who can either play third base or second. So we'll see what that looks like for Jet Williams. Hopefully, we're looking at someone who most definitely can produce. He has some of the same issues as Drew Gilbert, where it's about staying healthy, it's about producing at that AAA level. So if he can do that, stay healthy at least, there's a speed factor to both of those guys. So what we will see from them is to be determined. They're at the top of the list when you think about it. There are some other people I would love for the Mets to try out in the outfield. Now, again, Jeff McNeil, I think, is best served as a super utility guy because he can play both left and right, especially if the Mets are going to play around with that DH position. I could definitely see that. I could see a scenario where the Mets are, putting Jeff McNeil in left, giving Jeff McNeil some time there. I could definitely see that. So, days where they're going to DH Juan Soto, I could definitely see Jeff McNeil play some right field. So, Jeff McNeil, also you could add to that list. There's a lot surrounding Jeff McNeil and what his value is and what he might bring to the table. Again, like I said, I see him as a super utility guy. That's what I see for Jeff. That's where I would love for him to be because he would be so good in that role. He's going to get at bats, but at the same time, when you have talent that's either at the same level or better, you want to see if that's there. And what we saw from Acuna, gotta like, gotta love. What you saw from Mauricio, you gotta like, gotta love. So we want to see what we have in those guys because eventually we gotta see, right? So the outfield is pretty much set in this order, the way it looks. It's not bad. I love it. We have some defense in there in center field. We have a veteran and stable leadership in Brandon Nimmo. We have the superstar in Juan Soto, who says he is committed to trying to win a Gold Glove and wants to play better defense in right field. And I think when you have guys like Sterling Marte and others who have played right field and city field, there could be, there's a guidebook there for Juan Soto to learn from. And plus, he's played in Citi Field a lot in his career. So I'm not really too worried about Juan Soto playing in right field. Again, that is the position he plays, and I think he's going to be one of the best right fielders in Major League Baseball. He is the best hitter in Major League Baseball, and we expect him to put up good numbers, man, because he's Juan Soto. He is one of the best players in the game. So that's what we have. tomorrow is the final part. We're going to be talking about all the pitching from starting to the bullpen. We're going to take a look at the depth in both. We're going to try to cover as much as we can with the bullpen and the rotation and the guys that are going to be involved in both and who we could see make an impact. So stay tuned for that. That's tomorrow. Again, hit that QR code and get the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. This is the Mets Live Show, and I am Rashid McDonald.